Hello everyone. Today I'm sharing with you what should a reliable graphic design outsourcing quotation look like? This is the part many businesses find most confusing and prone to pitfalls when first searching for graphic design outsourcing through a system. Because the reality is often, the quotation looks complete, but during the actual collaboration, a host of problems arise. Either this isn't included, or that requires extra payment. You'll start to wonder, is the other party unprofessional? Or is outsourcing pricing inherently opaque? Here's a conclusion first. A reliable quotation isn't about how detailed the prices are, but about clearly defined boundaries. First, let's correct a misconception. A quotation isn't a price list. Many unreliable quotations look like this. Main image, YXXX, details, page, YXXX, poster, YXXX. It seems clear, but in reality, it doesn't clearly state anything. Because the real problems never stem from how much money, but rather from whether modifications are included, whether additional requirements are considered, and what constitutes completion. Price isn't the issue. The issue is too much room for interpretation. Second, a reliable quote must clearly state the conditions for cooperation. Before any price is mentioned, a reliable quote will always specify these: cooperation method, per order, per cycle, monthly subscription, long-term cooperation, renewal support. This is the prerequisite for judging the reasonableness of the quote. Delivery method, number of images delivered, source files, only multiple sizes supported. If these aren't clearly stated, disputes will inevitably arise later. Third, in the price items, the most crucial element is not the amount, but the scope. A mature quote will clearly specify the scope of services for each price item. A correct price quote should include applicable type, included content, excluded content. For example, main image design, basic, includes composition and basic retouching, excludes complex compositing, scene setup. Once the scope is clearly stated, the price will naturally make sense. IV. Modification rules, the soul of a price. Quote, almost 90% of outsourcing disputes stem from image modifications. A reliable price quote will clearly state how many rounds of modifications are included, what constitutes a modification in the same direction, what constitutes a new requirement. If a price quote completely ignores modification rules or only states modifications are supported, be very careful. V. A reliable price quote will differentiate between different difficulty levels. Common problems with unreliable price quotes are all main images have the same price, all detail pages have the same price, but in reality, the workload varies greatly. A mature quote typically breaks it down like this: basic, standard, high requirements, or execution-oriented, planning-oriented. This isn't about charging more, but about avoiding continuous price increases later. 6. Reliability. See if there's a backup plan. A quote worth long-term cooperation will usually include suitable for which stage of business, unsuitable for which needs, suggested cooperation methods. If the other party dares to say in the quote, "This isn't suitable for you," it actually shows that they value long-term cooperation more than a one-time transaction. 7. 3. Questions for beginners to judge the reliability of a quote. When you receive a quote, you can directly ask yourself, 1. Can I clearly understand what constitutes completion? 2. Are modifications to the boundaries immediately clear? 3. If the requirements change, will there be immediate disputes? If any of the answers is uncertain, then this quote is likely not mature enough. A word of truth for businesses seeing a quote for the first time. A reliable quote isn't necessarily the cheapest, but it must clearly state all the issues beforehand, minimize internal friction during the collaboration process, reduce costs for both parties. The true value of a quote isn't the price, but rather reducing the risk of collaboration. In short, a reliable graphic design outsourcing quote doesn't rely on complexity nor on cheapness, but rather on clear boundaries, defined rules, consistent expectations. When a quote begins to resemble a collaboration manual, rather than just a price list, graphic design outsourcing truly has the potential to become long-term, stable, and reusable.